Hello, Milos, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. How's everything going on your side?
Hello, thank you for calling me to have this conversation with you. It's really nice. It's a winter time here in Serbia, so we lost the real winters, to be honest, since a few years ago. So this is more like autumn temperatures, but actually the days are really short, and that's really annoying for me at least.
No, great. Thanks, but thanks for taking your time. For those watching, we have Milos Doshin representing Serbia for this new interview we're doing for the project. The idea is to create a space where we have international experts like yourself who work in business in different markets around the world to talk about the cultural and communication aspects of doing business in their countries. And we have 7 questions we've been asking all our interviewees, and we'll begin now. The first question, Milos, tell us more about you and what kind of work that you do, please.
Well, I'm an owner and managing director of one mid-size accounting and consulting agency. It's based in Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, and we have almost 40 years tradition. So next year we'll be celebrating our 40th anniversary. So it's a company with really deep roots, even from old Yugoslavia. So we are serving some 450 clients. Basically, it sounds a lot, and we are working, and it is a lot, of course, and we are working for different kind of clients, from small entrepreneurs all up to some international investors or startups or some mid-sized companies in trades. Mainly, we are focused on healthcare sectors, IT sector, trade, and other services. So those are our specializations, and we have some 20 dedicating professionals in our team. And prior to this and to me taking this company from inheriting this company, let's say from my father, I had a really long career in supporting startup development, and entrepreneurship. I was a mentor, lecturer, educator, trainer for startups, for youth entrepreneurship. So I really have a background in entrepreneurship, so that's something that I bring in this industry that is actually not that funky, how to say.
Not great. Very interesting, your background. You work with all levels, all types of companies, so that's interesting to learn. And also, it's very relevant for the interview. Our viewers watching this, those that want to do business, that want to explore the market in Serbia, having someone like you to orient and guide them is very useful, regardless of the size of their company. So that's great. And I also heard beautiful things, amazing things about the region of Europe. No, Serbia have beautiful. It's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful area to visit as well. So I encourage those watching to do business and also go visit. Um,
Absolutely. Just to mention, so one of my really dear lines of business are actually helping people who want to establish business operation in Serbia. So I help them with some intercultural details, and basically help them setting up the company, finding local partners, navigate through legal and tax environment. So basically, what distinguishes us from others is really knowing both the structure realities, like how you really do the business in Serbia, and that human dynamics, how the society functions, and what are the cultural business cultural perks of Serbia.
Perfect. And that's exactly what we need to learn from you in this kind of conversation. Thanks so much, Milos. The second question, what are some things you recommend people do or say when they first meet or speak with a person whom they might be interested to do a new project, a new business opportunity together in Serbia? And also, what should they not do or say, especially in this first encounter, right?
I really think that here in Serbia, it's important for everybody who wants to do business here in Serbia is to understand that business here is still deeply personal. So that it is what it is, you know. So maybe it sounds awkward for somebody coming from West, but here it is still personal. And basically, people need to know that like first meetings and basically introductory meetings are about assessing character as much as like the business proposal that is on the table. So it is relational and really first impressions matter. Of course, first impressions matter is not, it's a universal thing. But here you really need to take that into consideration. And if something is like the major business advice in that sense, like slow down. Like don't expect us to make fast decisions, to have a quick meetings, to do things really fast. If you are really intend to do business here in Serbia, like for quite some time, then you need to simply understand that it's all about relations, trust, and you need to get to know people. Also, if you ask what not to do, I would, for example, say don't get in some self-promotion or overconfidence because from whatever reasons, we have a really good talent to see through that, you know, and we don't appreciate that much, you know. So basically, it's more important to be open and frank and like down to the ground, how to say, rather than with your nose up in the sky, you know. So that's those are some characteristics of our business culture. Also, here in Serbia, it's really important to read the room. You know, you need to know how to read to read the room and who's who in the room. People need to know actually that we are somehow know-it-all culture. So and know-it-all people. So a lot of people really, it's a national characteristic. A lot of people here really think that they know everything, you know, which is of course not true, you know. So is it because of their confidence or their ignorance? It's even not that important, but people need to be aware that a lot of people, everybody will sound here as they know, as if they know everything about the topics, but most of those things are just assumptions or some considerations. And basically, if you look around the room, you really need to search for those who are really competent, and you need to filter competence from discompetent or non-competent, sorry for a lack of the better word, you know. And you actually need to focus on those people and simply don't expect us to make the decisions right away. So those are some important things when you sit on the table with people here in Serbia.
Very clear. Thank you, Milos. Very good points. For those considering visiting, going to Serbia for the first time to do business, important to take these into consideration. Thank you so much for clarifying that, Milos. The third question, we recognize that it's important to have a deeper cultural understanding of a local place when doing business there. So what cultural aspects might be considered when doing business in Serbia?
Basically, what people really need to know is that Serbia is a somehow country of contrasts. So we blend several things. We blend Mediterranean relationship culture. So we really want to build relationship. We want to know people with whom we are working and doing business. And we are also blending some, let's say, Central European administrative and bureaucratic structure. So it all comes with a grain of some socialist heritage, because more or less everybody here, either in first generation or in second generation, like either parents or grandparents, they all went through the whole life. They lived their whole life in the socialist country. So we have something from those times. We are relatively egalitarian society, and we don't tend to over structure different levels of society. We look to talk the same way with everybody. That's something that is, for example, important. As I probably mentioned already, trust is the main thing. Trust comes before business. Hierarchy is respected here, but you actually need to find out who is the real boss, because in a lot of cases, real leaders are not those who are like talking the loudest story. So leadership styles here in Serbia are relatively informal, and that's something to know as well. We do have a lot of bureaucracy here, as I said. But what people really need to know, especially those who want to do business in Serbia, Serbia made huge breakthroughs in digital services in last decade. So most of things tax related, most of things business registration related, most of business and tax procedures, they can be undertaken and they can be finished up online. So that is something really, really important. And from my experience, even when I compare Serbia with some developed European countries, we actually have much better services than they have. So that is something really important. For example, whoever works or wants to do business in Serbia needs to have a digital signature, so a certificate. So that's like a must if you want to do business. So practically you cannot do a lot of things in paper anymore. So that's pretty advanced, and that's something really nice. It's still developing and under development, but let's say in next 10 years will be a really modern society and will do everything online, which is a nice vision, and that is one of the let's say one of the rare things to really appraise here in Serbia. So also we have like most of countries from our region, we have a brain drain. So that makes a skill gap, and it makes harder to find good people, good workers, good employees. So when I say Serbia is a country of contrasts, that's one of the things. We have a top talents, but they mostly work abroad, and then here we have a lack of competence, and that's something that really people need to take in consideration. So you really need to find who is actually competent to do the job, because as I said, everybody will tell you that they know how to do the job, but it's actually not true.
No, great insights. Really, really interesting. This is the first interview of all the ones that I've done that when we're talking about culture, this part of the digital aspect, it's brought up. So it's really interesting because the cultural way of doing business has to take into account the digital aspect you talked about. In Brazil, we're starting to have digital signatures as well. So it is a cultural aspect, not so about people, right? But it's about how you work in the country. So very interesting point, and good to know that Serbia is already advancing a lot in this area. Great, thanks so much. The fourth question, if someone does not speak Serbian, what do you suggest a foreigner do to be able to communicate more successfully with the locals in Serbia and to do business there? How would they do business if they don't speak Serbian?
Well, listen, Serbia is really well known because a lot of people here speaks English very well. So we are English speaking territory. A lot of people talks German as well. So that especially relates to younger people, Generation X, IT guys, IT sector, trade, some people who are actually exposed to doing business with foreigners generally. So you can count on pretty decent knowledge of English here in Serbia, and that's why Serbia is actually one of the territories, one of the countries that is really very neat for some nearshoring, let's say. So a lot of companies from abroad are coming here and establishing companies just because of that level of language skill. But if you don't speak Serbian, don't speak English, whatever, especially if you exit Belgrade and want to do business in central Serbia or South Serbia, you will come across a language barrier, you know. But even then, knowing my people, we are warm, we are like nice with guests, we like guests. So basically, even if you don't know a single word of Serbian, you will be able to whatever bypass your challenge at the moment if you smile, if you are polite, if you simply are warm with those people who are trying to resolve your problem, you know. So that's how we are, you know, and that's something that people need to take in consideration.
Great. Yeah, you yourself, you speak English very well, so you're an example. But just a quick question. If a business person from another country comes in and they leave Belgrade and go to other places, is it common to find interpreters? You can hire interpreters that can help in
Oh,
meetings
of
for some.
course, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Like you can find interpreters. That's how you do business in those cases. You find interpreters, official interpreters, or you simply found some local who will follow up you through that endeavor and who will translate to you. If not like officially, he will translate definitely good enough for you to finish up the work, you know. So by the way, keep note that we here are very direct and expressive and emotional in speech. So if you come across such a situation, don't freak out. How to say? We are simply like that. We are like, if somebody is loud, that doesn't mean that he's or she is aggressive. You know, it's simply how the way how we express ourselves. You know, we are a bit louder people than maybe some neighbors or some other people on the planet.
And good to take note. In Latin America, we're also
Yeah.
very emotional and loud. So great.
A lot of people actually right now I have a small business partnership with the people coming from South America, and when we had a chance to discuss basically they were commenting about Belgrade, like especially about girls and people like, oh, these are Latinos of the Europe, you know. So it seems that we actually share a lot of cultural threads and communicational threads, although we are actually very far away.
I think it's the Mediterranean culture that got transferred here. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. That's the aspects actually, and
yeah,
especially also, of course, you can find interpreter nowadays with ChatGPT and with AI. You can actually almost real time interpret what you want to say and read it aloud through your phone or something like that. But when you want to do business, if you want to finish up some uh, administrative procedure or something like that. If you are simply doing business, take care and take note that you really need to have a good and decent and trustful local associates because because of those digital services actually. So like we have e-taxes, we have e-employment, we have so much services, not to enumerate them, but basically it's impossible to navigate through that system if you don't have a local service vendor, let's say, who will help you out navigate that. Also, what is important for Serbia and what makes us different from the region, practically the whole region, we mostly write in Cyrillics, so we have a Cyrillic letter, both Cyrillic and Latin letters are official in Serbia, but basically, let's say most people are writing in Cyrillics, and what is more important, everything government related. So all the papers, all the documents, all the solutions, all the founding contracts and everything, it's in Cyrillic, So that's something to consider. It's important to have somebody who will locally help you out navigate through that system. A lot of people thought that they can do that alone, and then after 1 month or 2 months they call back again, and that happens all the time, to be honest. So that's one of the points and takeaways from this interview for sure.
yeah, great. And not only that point, which is really important, but you mentioned before reading the room, the cultural context, having an interpreter, uh, a local interpreter will understand how to read the room that the foreigner won't. So for those reasons and these, yeah, it's important to have someone local supporting you, guiding you along the way. So
Absolutely. And it's also, sorry, it's
yeah,
also what is important to mention. Here in Serbia, a lot of things are much more about the context than actual data. So if you are talking with Serbs about some whatever private topics or business related topics and everything, it's really important to understand the context. So if you really want to get in depth and if you want to do really quality job in whatever doing business in Serbia I advise knowing the local context. If you don't know local context, then be aware of some comments, especially historical comments or history related comments and so on, because we are emotional, and basically the history and the culture of this region is so intertwined and so complex. Then for foreigners, who just maybe look at one layer, it can be minimally to say counterproductive if they get in some discussions in that historical relation or some neighbor relations if they don't know the context well.
excellent. Very good point, Milos, to take into account as well. Moving to the fifth question, to get better results in visibility or sales, what are your recommendations on the most effective ways to do marketing for products or services in Serbia? So a company comes in from abroad, should they reach out to, how could they reach out to their customers? What's more common? How do you do that in Serbia? Some suggestions.
Well, they need to localize. they need to localize that marketing approach, overall marketing approach, So uh, that's also a reason why some of the major global vendors didn't even arrive yet. We still have a very poor Apple market, for example, or Apple never came to Serbia and stuff like that, because there are only like what 6.5 million of Serbs, meaning like consumers, whatever, like 2-3 million actual potential consumers if you talk the whole market, and that makes localization not that attractive to many brands, especially global brands. But it is what it is. You need to localize if you want to play a business game here in Serbia. On the other side, of course, digital marketing tools, they work. They are what they are. They somehow have hacked the human persona and brain, so they simply work, but basically, if you really want to be here for a long time, then it's word to mouth. I always preferred referrals and word to mouth, and that's how, for example, we grow our business. It's like 100% word to mouth. I don't have marketing since never, simply we don't deal in that because we have that word to mouth story, and I consider it really important, and simply it turns back to trust. It turns back to some other points that I mentioned in this interview. Building relations, and building relations and trust, that's the most important thing, and not to screw people up, with some fake stories and so on. Also, what we don't like, I guarantee that we don't like that at all, is some corporate approach in marketing, So whatever is like somebody wants to bring a global campaign here to Serbia, it probably won't going to work, But basically, if you want to if you have that kind of corporate approach, tune it to some preferences here in Serbia. We appreciate humor, we appreciate some real values, old school values. We are still not like the hyper fast Western society. So we are still like, as we mentioned, like in that Mediterranean mode of taking things more easy. Also, what is really important to mention, if you are working, because there is Belgrade and there is rest of Serbia, really. Like Belgrade is half of everything in Serbia. It's like rule of thumb, but basically Belgrade is half of the economy. Belgrade is okay, less than a half of population, but it's like a 2 million population city, and uh, most of businesses are here and so on. So doing business in the rest of Serbia, it's something different. And for example, in relation to marketing, old school channels such as local radio stations, billboards, and things like that will work extremely well outside of Belgrade. Even inside of Belgrade, like a lot of major brands are still like present on radio and like on billboards, but that especially works when you are outside of Belgrade.
Fantastic. Very, very clear picture. Just to add to that, you mentioned digital platforms. Can you give some examples? I mean, which ones are most used? I'm just thinking in terms of a company coming in and they want to invest in digital platforms. Which ones do you think might be more effective?
It's Facebook and this Instagram. So actually Meta platforms. If you ask me, it's Instagram and not Facebook. Like I'm not a Facebook fan, but I'm an Instagram guy, and like a lot of business is happening on Instagram. So those two are really important. Then TikToks, of course, comes really popular with younger generations. There is a lot of presence and a lot of communities on X, Twitter, but Twitter here is used like opinion. When you want to have a political opinion or something like that, then you go there. It's not that much business oriented, So basically Instagram and Meta.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Fantastic. Thanks, Milos. The sixth question, more to do with cultural empathy. If a business partner in Serbia wants to get to know you better, invites you to a local coffee, tea place, restaurant, even a virtual happy hour through Zoom, or what are the kind of topics people in Serbia like to talk about that's not related to business? It's that trust building that you've been saying very clearly. How do you establish that trust by local conversation? Nothing to do with business.
Since you sent me the list of questions, I had a smile, and I was smiling on those virtual, how you call it, virtual
A
happy
happy
hours,
hour.
like virtual happy hour. That's something that is a no-go here in Serbia, but I'll come to that later on. First of all, when we want to meet somebody, we want to meet them in person. So even nowadays, of course, we have Zoom, we have meetings, whatever, like online platforms and everything. But in my case, for example, more than 95% of meetings, and believe me, I do have between 150 200 meetings per year. They are live. They are live. So actually, we want to meet people, and if somebody wants to take you to coffee, okay, that's level one, how to say, and consider it as a relationship building situation. Talk more than business, talk private, open yourself, try to build trust. But a coffee is coffee, and I want to let the world know we really do have a great coffee here in Serbia. We have a coffee culture, so count on having coffee when somebody calls you here. But if somebody really wants to hear your story, and if somebody really wants to meet, he will call you to kafana. We call it kafana. That's a restaurant. That's a national restaurant with a world-renowned national food. So we really do have a great food. I mean, South Americans do have it as well, and we are both like meat cultures and everything. So, but when we say kafana, it's something different. It's not a posh restaurant. We have those in Trongs. Don't worry. And sushis and everything fancy we do have. But when somebody is calling you to kafana, it means that he wants to talk with you informally. He wants to talk with you. He wants to really meet you in that environment, which is warm, rustic. Like, unfortunately, we do smoke a lot. We are a smokers culture. I'm happily not a non-smoker, but people need to know that we smoke everywhere. So we don't have a non-smoking areas and so on. So it is what it is, but it's good, like the brand is and the food is still good there. And when people want to know you better, they will not talk only about business. They will feel like talking about personal stories, where you're from, where your parents from, where you're originally. Some things that might not be even politically correct nowadays in the West, but we talk them, and we like to hear stories. It's not that we are inquiring out of whatever reason. We are genuinely interested in a person when we ask people like that. Then we also like to talk sports. We have Novak Djokovic. We have some. Okay, football really dropped a lot here in Serbia, but we do have some major clubs. We are extremely well in basketball, you know. So talk sports, talk personal, talk travels, talk simply personal small talk, you know. So that's what will that's something that will really make you close to somebody who wants to work business with you, or you want to work business with him. Also, what is like that is this is a trivial level information, but basically here in Serbia. You will stumble upon here and there relatively often. You will stumble upon people who will ask you some questions like how much money do you make, how big is your salary, or so on. You know, it really happens. You know, it really happens, and it's I don't know. It's of course it's lack of good manners, and that's something like a no go if you have a whatever decent level of manners and culture. That's something that you don't do. But if you encounter such a situation here in Serbia, don't freak out. You know, it's not it's a question out of some kind of ignorance. You know, it's not the ill-intended question. You know, so that's something that I had more than several situations with some foreign partners here in Serbia when it happened, you know, and they were all like, what, you know? But again, I'm saying it's not ill-intended. It's simply that people, we didn't grow up on a corporate and business culture, you know. So that's what I'm saying when I refer to some socialist heritage. For example, this is one of the things that comes out of that, actually, you know.
Yeah, thanks. And it's good for people to already have an answer for that, so be prepared. Uh, the kafna is very interesting, very interesting, the cultural aspect to
Yeah,
know
kafanas
where's
are
the
like
best place to go meet with the locals.
yeah, they are a
Um,
national institution actually
Great.
since
No, that's a
ever,
great
yeah.
insight. And sports for sure. I mean, tennis, basketball, you guys are fantastic. And I know football, soccer. Um, guys have a great history, I know as well.
Yeah,
So sports
history.
is very big, and that's what a lot of people recognize Serbia as well because of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's great. Moving to the last question now. Coming up to the last one. What one word should everyone learn to say in Serbian and why? Or phrase, a word or a phrase?
Listen, like we have a saying like nice words opens heaviest doors. So basically, it's if there is a one word to choose, it's hvala. It's thanks you, or hvala puno. Thank you very much. You know, that's something really nice. That is something that brings a smile to people's faces, and basically that's appropriate and polite. You know, so hvala puno. And for example, if you really reached a deal with somebody and like are shaking hands with them and everything, you can say imamo dogovor, we have a deal, like dogovoreno, we have a deal, or a deal, dogovoreno, or uh, imamo dogovor.
Okay, great. We're gonna put those in writing in the article that we're creating on LinkedIn from this interview. So great insights. Yeah, and it's this warm connection. Thank you is very universal and it's very important. I agree with you. It's a very important connection you can have with someone local and appreciation that they'll have. So great. Thank you. This time has come already for the end of this project, the interview. Thank you so much, Milos, for taking your time, sharing your insights, recommendations, experiences. I also hope this interview benefits you and brings opportunities. I want to remind everyone watching that Milos, he himself, like he said, he can help the foreign companies who want to come into the Serbian market, culturally speaking, even the business registry, taxation structures. He knows how to do that. So I recommend you reach out to him. We'll put his contact information also in the LinkedIn article. Any last comments, Milos, before we end?
Um, I forgot one thing when I talked about
Sure.
digital services. Okay, now turns out that I'm mentioning them like third or fourth time. But really, I forgot that company registration. If somebody wants to register a company here in Serbia, it became extremely easy. So if you are a domestic citizen, for example, or domestic partner who will lead that business operation, actually you can even do it online. You just need that digital certificate, and practically that's it. And even if you are not, if you are a foreigner who wants to establish company here, it is really easy. So business registration takes 3 to 5 days, literally working days. Capital requirements are really low, like they are 100 dinars, meaning like $1, literally. So and it's really easy. It really is easy. So like the most common way to structure your business here is a limited liability company, and that's something that you can do really in a short time frame. So that's maybe an important final message for people who would like or who are considering to do business here in Serbia.
Yeah, no, very, very important. I mean, this also motivates people to see that it's not a difficult
Yeah.
process. I think the challenge is the cultural aspect, but opening the business is not going to be as difficult.
Regarding the cultural aspect, it comes to that advice that you actually need to find a decent service provider, somebody who will you trust here in Serbia, and who will help you navigate through that
Yeah.
bureaucratic frameworks here in the country.
Perfect. Great ending. Thank you so much for your time, Milos, and we'll be in
Thank you,
touch. Thank you so
Rafael.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you. Bye bye.